You know, I've often said His Majesty the King does get blasted for so many different things, and I think a lot of the time for all the wrong reasons, simply because, as we know, the British monarchy don't exactly come out and explain their remit, the thought process behind certain things. And it's always good, you know, while people jump on these stories, I do like to take a couple of days to fully investigate for you, that you know exactly what I can find out behind the headlines, because there's a lot of headlines and you think, no, that just doesn't ring true. But of course, in the digital medial world, and more importantly with television, everything's a very quick headline and then very quickly moved away and put in a box and hopefully forgotten about, you know, the sort of thing. So I wanted to look into this for you, and it might surprise you as exactly what I found out. As ever, let me explain. Morning, how are you? You all right? Thank you so much, as ever. Thank you so much for all your support. Welcome one and all brand new subscribers to our wonderful community of chums. That's what I like to call us, we're chums. And you know, we know a lot about each other, so just be respectful. We don't like any swearing or anything like that, and try not to fall out. There's enough falling out in the world. You know what falling out means? Arguments, yes. It's a northern thing maybe. But you know, we just don't need it, do we? There's enough. We're all too busy trying to keep warm over here for the winter in the United Kingdom. Many different things. I know, I've told you what to do. A few books you could set fire to from the charity shops. I'll leave it there. But what's interesting about this story, and let me just point this out to you because I do think this is fascinating. Earlier this week, there was a story about His Majesty the King basically reaching out for spiritual guidance about how to patch things up with his youngest son, the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry. And you know, it was all very sort of nicely timed, you notice that? And everybody sort of ran with that particular remit. This is the story, this is what exactly His Majesty the King is doing. Speaking, of course, to the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby. Well, let me tell you, the Archbishop of Canterbury's rating right now, with popularity is at an all-time low. He's offended so many people, basically suggesting that we all invite migrants, literally illegals, into our home that are not checked at all to live with us so they can integrate. Now, as I've pointed out before, Lambeth Palace has vast rooms, of which he's based in the centre of London. I don't see any there. And when we asked about that, we were quickly shut down. But the most offensive thing I think that the Archbishop has done of late is to say that they don't want to use the word church anymore. And they want to make it more inclusive, you know, the usual claptrap wokery that these people do. So how true is this divine intervention from him to His Majesty the King? Well, they do have regular meetings, but I've been told 100% this was not on the agenda, and they have no idea where this particular story came from. I do. I might suggest, of course, and as ever, I have to say allegedly, that that particular remit was put out there to try and deflect away from the fire that was building over on social media. And once again, as I told you at the start of this video, His Majesty the King wouldn't rebuff or indeed respond to those sort of ridiculous questions, because it didn't happen, and it's not happening. As I told you earlier on, what he did, and I think really that would have done the Archbishop of Canterbury a lot of good, would have been to go and visit the people up in Southport in Lancashire for the murdered children of that particular individual that came here. You understand what I'm talking about. While King Charles did his best to cheer people up, even though he's got his own ongoing battles, we should applaud him for that. As for this divine intervention on a spiritual level, it's utter claptrap, but it's always good to share with you, our chums. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.